Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be doing a review of not one but two Radiohead EPs. That's right, coming up we have Airbag, How Am I Driving, and My Iron Lung EP. So, first thing you might be wondering today is we have another technical difficulty. Last week it was the visual section of the video and everything. This week it's not having a mic stand. Well, not a mic stand, but in particular a mic clip. Long story short, band practice on Friday. Brought my own mic in and everything because the school doesn't have one that works. And and doesn't have a mic clip either, so I brought my own in, and then I forgot to screw it off the mic stand, so it's still there now, so that's convenient. But oh well, you know, I'll rock the whole hand on mic look, you know. I look like I'm starting a boxing match or something, but I think it works. Not as professional, but you know, hopefully the audio's still alright and you can see the video and everything. So, here I have with me my two EPs. I got them quite recently. I got them off eBay because I was a bit curious as to see what Radiohead stocked away in their B-sides collection. Now, as we all know, some of the best artists around have some fantastic B-sides. You know, the Beatles had I Am the Walrus, Oasis had Acquiesce, Red Hot Chili Peppers had Quixotic Elixir. So, you know, it's always nice to see what people have that they haven't put on the albums, and you often get some really good material there. So that's what I thought I'd have a look at today. So, we'll start off, this is like a two-in-one kind of thing, because these are both EPs, they're not technically albums or anything. So we'll try and squeeze them both into the running time of the video. I'm sorry last week's lasted about 20 minutes, but you know, I love the Pixies. But anyway, so we'll start with the My Iron Lung, we'll go in chronological order. So, let us begin. Now, I got this off eBay for £2. It's still got a nice big fat Australian import sticker on it that, you know, I don't want to get off and get all scratchy and wreck the CD case, but there you go. My Iron Lung is 8 tracks long, and it's an interesting EP. It was released in 1994, a little bit before the Bends was released, with the lead single off the Bends, really, which was the song My Iron Lung, which in my opinion is the best song off the Bends. It's a fantastic song. It's catchy's not the right word, but it's probably the best of what Radiohead did off the Bends. It's just an interesting song to listen to. The lyrics are very, very quite angry, quite frustrated. It's all about the hit single Creep that Radiohead released that they're famous for, basically. And they didn't really like that because they didn't think it was the best song around. I think Creep is a decent song. Basically, my analogy for Creep is that it's overrated by everyone else and it's underrated by Radiohead fans, you know? It's a good song. It's not bad. The chord progression is very nice and everything. It goes on a bit. It's a bit repetitive, but, you know, it's a very powerful song. There's actually an acoustic version of Creep on this EP, which is interesting. But anyway, that's what My Iron Lung... I can't barely say it. My Iron Lung is all about, and it's a very powerful song, and it's a good choice for a first single. And the EP obviously has that as its lead song as well. So then we have, as of course, the aforementioned Creep as an acoustic, and six other B-sides, which range in quality. There is some interesting stuff here. My personal favourites from what I've heard of it so far, the fourth track, Punch Drunk Lovesick Sing Along, which goes on to sort of characterise some of Radiohead's later work. You know, you can really see them just being quite tired here, it's quite a depressing song. I really like the way that Johnny Greenwood goes into relatively atonal guitars here. It's almost like listening to like a water drop, sort of drip drop with a guitar. It's quite hard to explain. You have to listen to that one. That's certainly a standout for me. The other one that I really liked was Lozenge of Love, which was a bit of a quieter song again. We have a few sort of louder, rockier songs on this album. The Trickster and Lewis in brackets Mistreated. The latter of which I think was just a bit... It sounded like something you hear off Pablo Honey. My Iron Lung was... The EP, was obviously released in between the Pablo Honey, which was released in 1992, I think. I should really know that. My credibility as a Radiohead fan is at stake here. And the Bends, which was released in 1995. And it's sort of a mishmash of both styles. The Benz was a bit more advanced, I think, in the songwriting. The songs were more interesting to listen to on the whole. There was still some filler, but, compared to Pablo Honey, it was a big improvement. It was a big step in the right direction, which would, of course, lead to OK Computer. But we'll go on about that in a minute. And yeah, so there are about 3 songs that I could hear that probably wouldn't have made the cut onto Pablo Honey, Lewis, as I said, I wasn't a massive fan of that one. Permanent Daylight, I wasn't a fan. It's just, it's not that they're bad songs. I think they could have fit into a lot of other bands' discography, but this is Radiohead, they're so good at writing songs that are a bit weird, a bit experimental, and even in the Benz era, they were experimenting in timbre and texture of the music on songs like Planet Telex and I don't know. Bulletproof, I wish I was. That's a lovely piece. So yeah, there are a few here that are dross is a hard word to put it. No Radiohead song is really dross apart from maybe Hunting Bears. That's a bit harsh. Sorry, Hunting Bears. But yeah, I can understand why they didn't put them on the album. But there are a few, as I said, Punch Drunk Lovesick Sing Along, that could have been on there, definitely. The Trickster could have been on there. There are a few filler songs on the Benz. I think songs like Sulk and Nice Dream, I think, were where the album really let up. And I think, especially in Nice Dream, where it sort of starts to you need a cooler song, You've just had Bones, which is quite intense, quite, going for it. And I think Punch Drunk Lovesick Sing Along would have really fit in there. Yeah, something like that I think would have worked. And it was a nice listen, and it was finished off very nicely with the acoustic version of Creep, which, as I said, I don't mind that song. I quite like it. And yeah, it was a good overall listen. To be honest, I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10. And I mean, that kind of sounds a bit harsh, but it's not really an album, and it's got about 3 tracks that were good. But I enjoyed it anyway, because I'm a Radiohead fan. But as from a critical point of view, I'll give it a 5 out of 10, because a lot of the stuff on there is not up to Radiohead standard, let's face it. I mean, it's a B-sides collection. You wouldn't really expect it to be like that. But yeah, there are a couple of songs there that easily could have made it onto the Benz, which is why it's high. And there are some good songs to listen to, really, that I very much enjoyed. Very good technically, the way they were written, very cleverly written. And yeah, and the album artwork is nice as well. It's kind of hard to open this up when you're using one hand to hold the mic, but it's interesting. It's like the same sort of artwork you'd see on the Benz, like sort of blurry, out of focus pictures of men in suits. The Just video is pretty much the best example of artwork from the Benz era, really. That sort of idea of the middle class man. They go on to explore a lot more with OK Computer, that kind of thing. But yeah, so yeah, there we go. That's my thoughts on the My Iron Lung EP. So I'll just chuck that aside. So next up, we have the Airbag / How Am I Driving EP. Now, I enjoyed this one more than the My Iron Lung. It's a lot more advanced in the songs there that are on this EP. Partially because it was released, sorry, I can barely speak today, released 4 years after My Iron Lung was released. It was released in 1998, so after OK Computer was released. And it's very interesting, again, to see, it always is with bands and their B-sides and stuff, just to see what other material they were pumping out on the time. And again, I got this relatively cheaply off eBay. It was just a couple of quid, really. You can get it on Amazon for a £5. And it's a really nice package, actually. It's a lot nicer than the My Iron Lung packaging. You've got the CDs all nice, and you get this nice little questionnaire, which is basically a political statement of what Radiohead were coming out with. And it's got loads of daft stuff about how depressing life is and that sort of thing. But anyway, Airbag, How Am I Driving, again, in the similar fashion to My Iron Lung, starts out with the main single on the EP, which is Airbag. Now, I don't think, in complete contrast to My Iron Lung, I don't think it was actually released as a single. The 4 singles from OK Computer were Paranoid Android, No Surprises, Lucky, and Karma Police. That was it, Karma Police. So no, Airbag was never released as a proper single, but it was released on the EP, which is good because I've got to be honest, I think any of the songs apart from maybe Fitter Happier could have been singles on OK Computer. It's just that good an album. So Airbag obviously starts off with Airbag, and there's not much I can say about that that's not been said already. It's just a fantastic song, very influenced by DJ Shadow, who was big in the 90s, with all his sampling techniques and everything, and the cut up drum lines and everything, and the sort of very jerky bass line, very repetitive sort of ostinato that Colin Greenwood would play on his bass that's repeated throughout the piece, and that really works. But anyway, Airbag's just a fantastic opener to this. It's a fantastic opener to OK Computer, and probably one of Radiohead's best songs. Then we have Pearly. I really enjoyed this, actually. It wouldn't have made it onto OK Computer. To be honest, I'll go on to cover which songs could have made it onto OK Computer later on. I don't think Pearly could have, but it's an interesting song. It's quite an easy listen, actually, which is weird, because then you go on to listen to Meeting in the Aisle, which is one of Radiohead's first attempts at an instrumental, and it's their best instrumental that I've heard. I mean, they haven't really done many. They're not an instrumental band. You've always got Tom York singing, haven't you? And it's really ambience. It's the sort of thing that you could sort of imagine like Brian Eno or Aphex Twin on his second album releasing, and it's quite nice to listen to. I actually prefer it to Tree Fingers or to the aforementioned Hunting Bears. Sorry, Hunting Bears, you've really got some abuse this video. See, I'm weird like that. I just have connections with all the Radiohead songs. They're like my kids. It's weird. But yeah, Meeting in the Aisle was very, I want to say pretty. It wasn't pretty. It was quite sort of disconcerting to listen to at points. But again, an interesting take on what could have been. You know, they were at this point, they were coming up with ideas of how they could expand it and instrumentals and all of that sort of thing, and it's a nice listen. The standout tracks on this EP, apart from Airbag, would be Polyethylene. Yes, I have pronounced that right. I'm doing A-level chemistry, and you know I'm still rubbish at pronouncing like organic chemistry things. Polyethylene parts 1 and 2. Now, this is like a 2-part song, as the name suggests. You got like 40 seconds of sort of Tom York and an acoustic guitar. And then it just is very sort of abruptly ended. And you got Tom going, oh yeah, was that all right? That was cool. Good. And then you get a full band coming and everything. And it just completely changes and everything. It's like 2 separate pieces, really. And I think this is the best example of songwriting on this EP, apart from Airbag. The closest thing that really came to filler on OK Computer was electioneering. But anyway, that's for another video. I'm not reviewing OK Computer today, but obviously it draws comparisons because this is the EP that was released at the time. But yeah, it was Polyethylene was an interesting listen as well. Again, sort of 2 different ways. The first part being sort of very sort of, I don't know if you've very sort of the sort of direction that you would have heard on songs like Faust Arp, and even like the acoustic version of True Love Waits, you know. And the second, just full band, you know, that sort of thing. That was a nice song. Then we have Melatonin, which is depressing, you know, typical Radiohead. And then my favourite, I just chucked the album at the tripod, God, what am I doing? My favourite song off the EP was called Palo Alto, and that was the last track. I think the track was originally called OK Computer, but then they changed it. Palo Alto is this city in California, and Radiohead were like, oh, it's the city of the future and everything. So they sang a song about it. And it starts off really weirdly. You have like all this electronic sort of white noise and everything, burbling and wailing and everything. Palo Alto is a fantastic song, and I wish it was on OK Computer. I wish they would have made it just 1 track longer, just so they could have fitted Palo Alto on it. It's brilliant, honestly. The verses are quite quiet, and then it just bursts into this chorus. It's very simple, very primal, you know, 3-chord chorus and everything. I watched them play it live on YouTube. Obviously, I'm like too young to have actually seen them play it. They wouldn't play it live now, would they? You know, they've got so much other material to play. But it's it's just a fantastic song. It's really catchy. It's in my head at the moment. The chorus it's great. I'm great. How are you? Thanks for asking. It's all about the sort of the superficiality of human relationships in general, you know. Typical OK Computer type stuff. Typical Radiohead. But again, that's my standout track of the album, apart from Airbag, but I sort of ignored the 2 singles from these EPs just because they're on the albums already and I've heard them. But there you go. Oh yeah, I forgot to give my my little rating for Airbag. It's a better EP than My Iron Lung. Some of the stuff here I legitimately think could have gotten onto OK Computer, easily could have got on the Bends. I mean, Palo Alto could have been one of the lead singles of the Bends. You know, it's just a great song. I give it a 7 out of 10. There's a few sort of drops in the EP, but then I wouldn't expect it to be like a full album. It's not. It's an EP, you know. It's not supposed to flow in that same way. And that's why it's harder to review, as I suppose, because you have to see it as more a collection of B-sides. But there you go. That's my 10 pence anyway, so I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the two Radiohead EPs. They had a few other ones. They had No Surprises, Running from Demons, which was released around the same time as Airbag, and that basically has exactly the same set of B-sides, apart from like a couple of different ones. I can't remember what they were. So I didn't bother doing that. I might be wrong. Live recordings, I'll say, for another video. So there you go. Stay tuned for them. They'll probably come up in like 2 years' time. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't blabber on about Radiohead too long, because I tend to do that. All my friends tell me I do, because, you know, I love them. And yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and goodbye.